that out just a few minutes ago, talking about this. And let me see here if I can pull up this post on social media for you to see it as we await an update from officials, including the police chief and from the mayor of Minneapolis. On the right, we are also awaiting Governor Ron DeSantis and the chief financial officer, Blaise Ngolia, who are getting ready to speak in Orlando. But again, we are awaiting an update on the shooting in Minneapolis. Let me show you this social media post from Kash Patel saying, the FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and hate crime targeting Catholics. There were 2 fatalities, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. In addition, 14 children, 3 adults were injured. The shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. The FBI will continue to provide updates on our ongoing investigation with the public as we are able. Still very much an active scene this afternoon. You can see hugs. It has been a lot. There's been a lot of emotion out there, as you might imagine, given the scale of this tragedy earlier today. And we do expect an update here shortly from investigators and from the mayor of Minneapolis. So that is expected to begin in just a couple of minutes. And let me give you another live look as well. Governor Ron DeSantis getting ready to hold a news conference with Blaise Ngolia. This is at the Zora Neale Hurston State Building in Orlando on West Robinson Street. And Blaise Ngolia, the CFO, tweeting this a little bit ago, saying you don't want to miss this, hashtag FAFO, and popcorn emoji there. So we will see what comes out of this news conference. We do know that the state is conducting Doge audits of Orange County and also of the city of Orlando. So unclear what exactly might come from this, but we will be watching that closely. So here it is, just about 3:33 Eastern time, and we are standing by for these 2 news conferences that we will do our best to bring both of them to you live. But here on Fox Local, we are going to bring you that Minneapolis shooting briefing in full. You can find YouTube streams of both of these on our Fox 35 YouTube page, and we will also be streaming Governor DeSantis on our second stream on fox35orlando.com. So keep it here. We will have much more coverage on Fox 35 News Plus in just a few minutes. Still awaiting this briefing in Minneapolis, Minnesota. You see a live look at Governor Tim Walz there, who is now on the scene. We expect to hear from him shortly in this briefing, as well as the Minneapolis mayor, who we heard from in the briefing earlier today as well. The police chief also expected to be here to provide some more details on the investigation. So we are awaiting this news conference, which we do expect to start any minute now. Let's see if they're walking toward the cameras. It looks like they may be walking away from the camera, so it might still be another few minutes before this gets going. We are also standing by for Governor DeSantis here in Orlando. So we will bring this Minneapolis news conference to you as soon as it begins, which we do expect it to begin here shortly. See Governor Tim Walz, Senator Amy Klobuchar, Mayor Jacob Frey. They are making their way toward the podium here to give an update. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Certainly a day and a news conference that no one wants to be at. A community behind us, Annunciation Church and School, committed to academics, service, and Catholic values, filled with the first days of school of beautiful children going to learn those values, share with their teachers and their classmates. And instead of that joy and that curiosity and that learning, they were met with evil and horror and death. And we often come to these and say, these unspeakable tragedies, or there's no words for this. There shouldn't be words for these types of incidents because they should not happen. And there's no words that are going to ease the pain of the families today. On behalf of all the people of Minnesota, our deepest sympathies. A wish that any of these words would make what you're feeling now better, but it won't. A place that's founded on community, founded on service, founded on family. I'd like to give special thank you to the mayor and the team in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Minnesota State Patrol, the BCA, so many agencies, our federal partners in the FBI, the first responders, and the heroic work that's happening now as we speak at multiple medical locations, including Hennepin County Medical Center, where most of our children were transported to receive the life-saving care. The thoughts and prayers and the hopes and the support that we need to give them in this moment, too, is critical. Speaking with all the people here and grateful to our federal partners, Senator Klobuchar speaking early this morning and receiving a call from President Trump, who was with his leadership team of the Attorney General and the Vice President, expressing their deep condolences amongst the horror that happened and an offer to provide the support to the folks here in Minnesota of what's needed. So there's a lot of cameras here, and unfortunately we have been through these types of things. They will be gone at some point. All of you, you have to do your jobs. But what happened here today will not be gone. Minnesotans will not step away. We'll stand with this community. We'll redouble ourselves to do the best we can to understand what we can do to prevent any parent from having to receive the calls they received today, from any school dedicated to children having to respond to a situation that, as we said, is unthinkable, but that's all too common, not just in Minnesota, but across this country. It's Minnesota's day today, and it's my strongest desire that no state, no community, no school ever experiences a day like this. So I ask the rest of the folks around the country who are watching, keep us in your thoughts and prayers, but also keep us in the thoughts for action. Keep us in the ideas that we can work together. And it's on these days like this, I think, and I hope we can hold on to it, we are unified as a community. Everybody across the country today is part of the Annunciation Parish, and they're with those families. With that, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey.
Thank you, Governor. Throughout the morning, we have seen this extraordinary Minneapolis family step up in thousands of different ways. People with strength, resilience, compassion, and love for the families that have been forever impacted by this heinous act. We want to make sure that we're doing everything possible for them right now, and I want to give a special thank you, and we are so grateful to all of the faculty and the teachers at Annunciation. The way that they acted during severe threat and danger was nothing short of heroic. This is a tragic and horrible event that should never occur, and it would have been all the more tragic and horrible had they not stepped in, at times perhaps put themselves in danger to protect others. As horrible as this has been, it could have been far worse. I'm grateful for our law enforcement partners, our police officers in the Minneapolis Police Department and other law enforcement agencies well beyond that step up, that answered the call to make sure that they were running towards danger when so many of the rest of us would have run in the other direction. Thank you. We are so appreciative of your service. To Principal DeBoer and your whole team, the ethic that you have showed, the love that you've shown, it's flat out incredible. And at the same time, look, we need to be doing more than talking. It can't just be words. There needs to be action. And when we have seen school shooting after school shooting, when we have seen churches get shot up by horrible actors, I think the impetus has to be on all of us as leaders to do a whole lot more, to recognize that we've got more guns in this country than we have people. And it's on all of us to recognize the truth and the reality that we can't just say that this shouldn't happen again and then allow it to happen again and again beyond that. It's on all of us. And I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity. We should not be operating out of a place of hate for anyone. We should be operating from a place of love for our kids. Kids died today. This needs to be about them. This needs to be wrapping our arms around these families with every bit of love that we can possibly show. And I know that our Minneapolis family and well beyond is prepared to do exactly that. And so my message to everyone out there is, again, these families are experiencing some acute pain right now. But don't just think of these as somebody else's kids. Think of your own. Let's make sure that we're acting now to not just say it's never happening again, but ensure it doesn't. Our chief of police, who's been working tirelessly throughout the day, along with, again, a number of different law enforcement agencies, investigators, federal partners, state partners. Thank you, Senator Klobuchar, for being here. Been working tirelessly, and I'd like to invite him up to give some more of the details that have come up. Chief.
My name is Brian O'Hara, B-R-I-A-N, O''H-A-R-A. I am the Minneapolis Police Chief. Good afternoon, and thank you all for your patience as we continue to gather the facts in this investigation into this truly unthinkable tragedy that happened here earlier today. I want to make sure that we are providing the most accurate information possible, particularly as we speak around our victims. At this point, we know we have a total of 19 victims from this tragedy. 2 were young children, ages 8 and 10, that were sitting in the pews at Mass when they were shot and killed. They were pronounced deceased on the scene. There were another 14 children between the ages of 6 and 15 that were injured by gunfire. There were also 3 adults in their 80s that were parishioners here attending Mass that were also shot in this incident. The families of all of the children that have been affected have been notified. The coward that shot these victims took his own life in the rear of the church. That coward has been identified as 23-year-old Robin Westman. No prior criminal history. As to the weapons used to perpetrate this horrific attack, there was a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. All 3 had been lawfully purchased by the shooter. At this stage, we believe that the shooter had acted alone. There is no indication of other suspects directly involved in carrying out this attack. Our investigators are working with other agencies in the process of executing 4 search warrants. One is for the church itself, where this crime occurred. The other 3 are residences nearby in the metro that are related to this shooter. Additional firearms are being recovered from those 3 residential locations as we speak. We are also aware of a manifesto that the shooter had timed to be released on YouTube. This manifesto appeared to show him at the scene and included some disturbing writings. That content has since been taken down with the assistance of the FBI, and it now remains under active review by our investigators. We know this community is reeling and is in pain. I want to ensure everyone in our community, this parish, all of the families affected, and all of our residents, that all of law enforcement collectively, local law enforcement, our county, our state, and all of our federal law enforcement partners have been here, and we are all working tirelessly to uncover the full scope of what happened, to try and identify a motive why it happened, and whether there are any other further details. We will continue to share updates as the investigation progresses, and we remain committed to being as transparent as possible while protecting the integrity of this investigation. In a moment, I will take some questions that I am able to answer, but first I want to bring up the principal of Annunciation School, Matt Du Bois, as well as, after him, the Archbishop, our Archbishop Bernard Hebda. So, Principal.
Good afternoon, everyone. To any of our students and families and staff watching right now, I love you. You're so brave, and I'm so sorry this happened to us today. Within seconds of this situation beginning, our teachers were heroes. Children were ducked down. Adults were protecting children. Older children were protecting younger children. And as we heard earlier, it could have been significantly worse without their heroic action. This is a nightmare, but we call our staff the Dream Team. and we will recover from this. We will rebuild from this. When we planned for this school year, we intentionally chose a theme from the prophet Jeremiah chapter 29, a future filled with hope. There's nothing about today that can fill us with hope. We, as a community, have a responsibility to make sure that no child, no parent, no teacher ever has to experience what we've experienced today, ever again. I need everybody to commit those words to your speech patterns, never again. We lost 2 angels today. And please continue to pray for those still receiving care. We can't change the past, but we can do something about the future. There's an African proverb that says, when you pray, move your feet. So I beg you, I ask you to please pray, but don't stop with your words. Let's make a difference and support this community, these children, these families, these teachers. Never again can we let this happen. I love you, Annunciation family. We're with you, and we will be stronger when this is done. Archbishop Hebda will be coming next.
Thank you, Principal DeBoer. I'm so grateful that Mayor Frey and the Chief both mentioned how valiant you and your staff were. I'm so grateful to the pastor here at Annunciation, Father Dennis Zarin, for the deacon, Deacon Kevin Keneally, also were heroic in this time. But how sad it is, for sure, not only for the families who are directly involved, but indeed for families everywhere who feel the threat that comes from an event, a tragedy like today's. I would never want to correct a principal, but Principal DeBoer said it wasn't so clear where would be the source of hope. And brothers and sisters, we have to be men and women of hope. Already today, I've been receiving messages from all over our country promising prayers. And I think it's the prayers of the feet as well, Principal. That is, for me, is a source of hope, just as we see families stepping forward to help those who have been impacted by this terrible tragedy. Very grateful that Principal DeBoer spoke about prayer. Certainly that the bell in a Catholic church is always a call to prayer. And so it's a reminder for us, for sure, to be praying. And we have to recognize that it's through prayer and through that prayer of the feet, through that action, that we can indeed make a difference. That has to be the source of our hope. I was particularly pleased today to receive a message from Pope Leo. If you'd bear with me, I'd like to share that with you. It comes directly from Cardinal Pietro Parolin, who's the Secretary of State, and it reads like this. His Holiness Pope Leo XIV was profoundly saddened to learn of the loss of life and injuries following the shooting that took place at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, and he sends his heartfelt condolences and the assurance of spiritual closeness to all those affected by this terrible tragedy, especially the families now grieving the loss of a child, while commending the souls of the deceased children to the love of Almighty God. His Holiness prays for the wounded as well as the first responders, medical personnel, and clergy who are caring for them and their loved ones. At this extremely difficult time, the Holy Father imparts to the Annunciation Catholic School community, the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and the people of the greater Twin Cities metropolitan area, his apostolic blessing as a pledge of peace, fortitude, and consolation in the Lord Jesus. My brothers and sisters, that gives me some hope. We know that the Holy Father, Pope Leo, did his hospital training right here in Minneapolis, so he knows our community, and he's been reminding anybody visiting from Minnesota that he spent some time here. We're very grateful for his blessing, but I, like those who have spoken before, ask that you would continue to look for those ways of supporting those who have been impacted today, not only with your prayers, but also with your action. Thank you. And Chief, I now turn this back to you for your questions.
Thank you, Archbishop. As I mentioned, obviously the investigation continues in its preliminary stages. I will take some questions now, and additionally, we will let you know when we can provide some updated information.
How are the injured students doing? What are their conditions at this point?
The question from Matt was, how are the injured students doing? I believe all of them have their parents with them now, and they are all expected to survive. All of the remaining victims are expected to survive. There is a range of injuries, however.
Chief, you said the weapons were acquired legally. Do we know when
Yes.
and where they were acquired?
I can tell you they were purchased recently.
Chief, can you tell us anything more about a possible motive here? We've also heard reports that the suspected shooter's mother was employed here at some point. Can you confirm that as well?
So the question was on a possible motive and a relationship to the church or to the school. I have no information to share on a motive other than saying again that there was some sort of manifesto that was timed to come out on YouTube. It's been taken down, and our investigators are going through that to try and develop a motive from that. Additionally, there are these 3 search warrants happening in residential locations, and we may very well, find more information or writings that could give some sense to that, but we don't have that now. And I cannot confirm a relationship between the suspect or his family and this church at this time, but that's obviously something we're looking very closely at.
Can you confirm at this point whether it was in fact by the suspect, or you believe at this point that it is in fact from him? And second question,
What was by the suspect? I'm
the
sorry.
manifesto that you've been
Okay.
talking about.
Yep. So the question was about the manifesto. We do believe it was by the suspect, yes.
And we understand that we've seen some documents about a name change that somebody with the same name as the suspect has filed for a few years ago.
Yep.
Do you believe this to be the same person, that Robin Westman was in fact born with a different name at this point? And can you speak a little bit more about the identity?
Yep. So the question was about the suspect, and he had a name change at some point in the past. I cannot confirm that other than confirming the identity, the name that I gave you, the age. That is the suspect. That's the person that we believe has caused this.
Chief, you mentioned these videos posted on YouTube, seemingly scheduled to be posted right after the shooting. Is there anything that the suspect posted days prior, months prior, that could shed any light on your mindset?
Yep. So the question was, we mentioned that the YouTube videos were scheduled to be posted. Is there anything else in social media that may shed some light into this? We do not have information on that at this time that I'm able to share. However, our investigators and our law enforcement partners are definitely looking at that.
About how many children and parishioners were in the church when this happened?
So the question was how many children and parishioners were in the church when this happened. This was towards the beginning of Mass, so some of the children were already filed into the church and were seated. Others were coming in. I've heard estimates, but we will release a more definitive number.
Chief, Minneapolis police officers have had a tough couple of days. I know we're talking about the children
Yep.
in this incident, but there were several shootings yesterday.
Yep.
How is the resource thing going for you? Are you getting help from other places now?
Yep. So Sue's question was resources for Minneapolis police due to the other challenges we've had the last 24 hours. Obviously, this has been the most difficult. The dozens of officers that responded to this scene, many of them are deeply traumatized by what they saw, as are obviously all of the children, all of the staff members, Father Dennis, everyone who was at Mass this morning. So obviously that has been our number one priority, is to care for the health and wellness of the officers that responded here. Additionally, obviously, we have responded to other challenging situations and other acts of violence. I can say, in regard to the shooting that happened outside of the high school yesterday, we have arrested 2 people for assisting in that shooting. We have not gotten the shooter yet, but we believe we have 2 people under arrest that were present with the shooter when that happened, and we're making significant progress. There was an additional arrest at a homicide last night that happened on the 2700 block of 3rd Avenue South. That person has not been booked specifically for being responsible for that murder, but we believe that is the person who caused that. So.
First time you've ever had to deal with a mass shooting?
No, unfortunately not. Yep.
A lot of the politicians here, the principal and others have said that this can never happen again. I'm just wondering if you have a suggestion for where we start to make sure it doesn't ever happen again.
Yeah, so the question was, where do we start to make sure this doesn't happen again? I don't have an answer for that at this time.
Aside from the federal, there is an idea that this might be investigated, maybe it already is, I'm not sure my information, as a hate crime against Catholics. I'm asking you, perhaps, Archbishop, is this a line of investigation that you have open to comment on that?
So the question is this an investigation into a hate crime against Catholics? We don't have a motive at this time. Obviously, we're open to any possibilities at all, but we don't have a motive or anything to suggest that.
Do you know if there is any more safety, any more protective measures that are implemented at other Catholic schools throughout the Twin Cities or churches? I'm sure there are masses going around right now this afternoon.
Yeah.
It's just a week out from, or a few days before the start of school.
Yeah. So the question is the concern for other churches, other schools around the metro. Unfortunately, this is something that our community has been dealing with for some time. The threat of active shooters, the threat of hate crimes at houses of worship, unfortunately, is not something new here. And of course, our precinct inspectors, our crime prevention specialists are available to work with both houses of worship, churches, and schools that do reach out to assist in any additional security measures or advice that we can offer them. In the Twin Cities? I'm unaware of any other. Yeah, from the the question was, is this the first time that there's been attack of Catholics at Mass in the Twin Cities area? The Archbishop is unaware of any other attack. The question was, is it being investigated by the FBI? Well, the FBI is here with us and has been a part of this entire investigation, as well as the ATF, other law enforcement. It's being led right now by the Minneapolis Police Department, and we are looking at, obviously, any possibilities from wherever the evidence will lead us from what we recover. Absolutely.
Thank you all again so much for your time today, for your support. Thank you. Yes, I think there's probably two names you would like spelling for.
It's a news conference wrapping up in Minneapolis, where we learned more about what the incident today, how the victims are doing, more about the suspect as well. I can give you a live picture right here as the crime scene team, forensics, a number of agencies still on the scene outside Annunciation School this afternoon. 19 total victims, 2 kids killed at the scene while they were sitting in their pew at church, ages 8 and 10. 14 kids injured. They're between the ages of 6 and 15. Also 3 adults in their 80s, parishioners at that church, also shot. We learned the suspect, 23-year-old Robin Westman, killed herself in the back of the church. They said no prior criminal history, but they did mention a manifesto that was timed for release on YouTube. It has since been taken down, and the FBI is reviewing it further. They're also in the process of getting several search warrants to aid in this investigation. The rifle, the shotgun, and the pistol that they say Westman used to fire into the church from outside by shooting in through the windows, they said those weapons were lawfully purchased. That is the update from Minneapolis this afternoon. Meanwhile, let me get you now to Orlando, where this is Governor Ron DeSantis, you see over the shoulder of Blaise Ngolia, the state CFO. They are talking about their ongoing DOJ audits of a number of localities across the state. They're in Orlando right now, and they are talking about their audit of Orange County. They said Orange County officials are not fully cooperating, and so they are planning to issue subpoenas to help with their audit. Let's go ahead and listen in as this news conference continues.
The interviews with our team and uploading partial information, not incomplete information, to Florida DOJ. So I think it is very apparent that taxpayers deserve and have a right to know where their money is being spent. Now, I'm probably freaking out a lot of Orange County employees right now. My advice to you is when you are contacted and when you're going to be interviewed, do not hide the information. Be truthful with them. We know that people above you told you to go and change the information in an effort to try to hide the information from us. Don't lie to us, because if we have to, we will bring in FDLE and digital forensic units to find out exactly who did what. So please be truthful with us, be forthright. Our job is to make sure that we get rid of the spending in advance of a property tax cut. Do not put yourself in a situation where you're lying to law enforcement. When I took office, I promised that I was going to be a fiscal pit bull when it comes to spending. I think we're proving here today and continue what we're doing every day that we are rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse, and I'm going to continue to hold those promises. I mean every word that I say. If local governments hear my voice, and if they thought me issuing subpoenas, investigative subpoenas, were just a throwaway, sort of like a threat to local governments, well, Orange County fooled around, and now they're about to find out.
Okay, Alicia.
Hey, thank you so much, Governor DeSantis, for your strong leadership. We have seen so many victories just in the last, how many years since you took office and under your leadership. Truly, Governor DeSantis is America's governor. I also want to say thank you to our CFO of Florida, Blaise Ingoglia. Thank you for being a pit bull, leading boldly and unapologetically. So I'm Alicia Ferrant. I'm a mom of 5 kids, and my husband and I have lived and raised our family right here in Orange County. As a taxpayer, I expect my hard-earned tax money to be spent wisely, and that our local and state government would be taking our tax funds and using it for good. The reality is we need accountability, and most importantly, we need integrity in our local government. God's word is very clear. Proverbs 10:9 says, "Whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out." This is one of the main reasons why I ran courageously and took a stand. And against all odds, I won a seat on the Orange County School Board where I currently serve. As a school board member, I want to put the same integrity and leadership that I have with my own family. And I'll tell you, a mom of 5 kids here in Orange County, it's not easy. My kids eat like piranhas. If any of you have kiddos, I got a 10-year-old all the way up to 21, and they eat me out of house and home. But a few years back, my husband and I, our dream was to build our own house. And with a large family, we didn't have tons of money coming in, didn't have a huge budget. And honestly, our budget did not meet and didn't match our dream. But one day, my husband, after watching YouTube, seems like all night, came to me with a hammer and some nails and said, "All right, babe, you ready? We're going to build our own house. We don't have the funds to go hire somebody. We don't have the funds to go and grab somebody else in, but what we do have is our own 2 hands. And that's what the American dream is all about, working hard. And when we work hard and we bring in our own funds, we expect that our funds and our money is spent wisely by our own local government. We need elected officials who are regular folks, moms and dads like myself. We need less bureaucrats who are pushing their own agenda. Again, I'm thankful for the leadership of Governor DeSantis, who has chosen to hold the state of Florida to a higher standard. And I'm also proud to say that in Florida, we are leading the way for the entire nation to follow. In my leadership here in Orange County, I stand with the governor as we stand for what is right. Okay. Thank you.
Get a chance to put a bow on this thing today. Thank you very much, Governor. Since becoming governor, Governor DeSantis has partnered with the legislature. I'm Jason Broder. I'm a state senator here in town. I have a couple of different counties, including Orange. Governor DeSantis has partnered with the legislature to prioritize fiscal responsibility, tax relief, and efficiency in state government. In Florida, we have a long track record of keeping state government accountable to the people. We have no state income tax, we have constitutional requirements for open government, and we have the lowest number of government workers per capita in the country. The balanced budget that we passed and that the governor signed recently reduces state spending in an era where everybody else's budgets are exploding. We also, in that budget, lower per capita spending again and reduce our own state bureaucracy. We authorized early payoff of state debt that's been mentioned. We account for significant broad-based permanent tax relief. All of this can be done. I don't want to hear excuses about how constrained things are when we at the state are doing this. New reporting requirements are now throughout the budget to safeguard taxpayers, improve accountability, transparency, and oversight on our own government spending at the state level. With the governor's full support, we also passed legislation that reduces the administrative state with improved government oversight and accountability over agency rulemaking. So even those folks that administer all of the laws that we pass have greater oversight. One of the reasons the DOGE efforts have been so popular at the federal level is because people have a problem with unelected federal bureaucrats pushing their own agenda with your money. Under the governor's leadership, we're improving transparency and removing burdensome bureaucracy that creates barriers for citizens and businesses struggling.
State Senator Jason Broder speaking right now as this news conference continues live in Orlando. We've got to take a break here on Fox Local, but we will be right back with more this afternoon, so keep it here on Fox 35 News Plus.
When a jurisdiction isn't on board with this, it's clear that more...
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Governor Ron DeSantis back at the podium now announcing subpoenas, investigative subpoenas being sent to Orange County over DOGE audits. He is now speaking about Alligator Alcatraz, saying deportations are continuing. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Out of those facilities based on theirs. Although we'd be willing to do it, but we are not the ones actually removing them from those facilities and sending them back to their home country. That's being done by DHS, and sometimes there's a pit stop along the way. We have Sheriff Grady Judd from Polk County was at our most recent immigration board hearing, said, we have way more illegal aliens that we're apprehending than DHS is able to house, process, and deport in an orderly fashion. That's why we did Alligator Alcatraz. That's why we're doing the deportation depot up in Northeast Florida in Baker County, right next to Jacksonville. And that is going to be, so we have thousands that can go to Alligator Alcatraz, another 1,300 in Baker County for the deportation depot, and then we're even working on, well, I'm working on more. So, but the reality is there's a demand, there's a need for many, many more thousands here. And so we've worked to meet that need. Ultimately, if DHS expands their own footprint and capacity, then maybe that need will go down. But as of right now, that need is very strong. And so I do think that they have increased the pace of the removals from there, which is on their time schedule. And then who they send in or don't send in is on their decision. That's we're there to provide, be a force multiplier on all that. And we will continue to do it. I think it's an important mission. You had this guy that was driving this tractor trailer, and he tries to do this crazy U-turn, and he killed 3 people. In the process, come to find out, he and the media was like, why didn't the troopers detain him if he was here illegally? What happened was he came across the border illegally from India, and then Biden gave him a work permit. And so Biden gave him the ability to get this commercial. Now, he still shouldn't have gotten the commercial driver's license, but that's how he was his entree into doing this. And so he went to Washington, he went to California, he got it. He didn't speak English and understand English. He failed the test abysmally. And it's like, when you have a sign that says official use only or no U-turn or things, like, abide by it. And that's for anybody, but especially when you're behind the wheel of one of those big boys. I mean, that is putting people in jeopardy. And so, yes, I blame the sanctuary policies of California, of course. I blame the company for putting this guy behind the wheel. What, you don't interview people before you hire them and put them in there? If they can't speak English, that's a problem to be able to understand your way around. But this is an individual who knew that he didn't know what was going on around him, couldn't understand all this, and then still made the decision to get behind the wheel of that and put some other people at risk. And that's wrong, and that's why once the FHP got the videos and was able to say there's a criminal offense here, that's why we had the lieutenant governor go and extradite him back here, and he's going to face justice, and we're going to insist that he faces justice. Okay, do we have any questions?
What is your message to Orange County Mayor Jacob Frey, who says there's no reason for an audit because they have an independently elected auditor in Phil Diamond, and they also said after you came to visit that they opened the doors for you. So what's your message for that, and also what's your advice that he does with these subpoenas?
Well, the CFO would not have issued the subpoenas if all the questions were answered. I mean, this is not performative. He wants answers, and under the law, he's entitled to answers. And I know that you hadn't seen CFOs necessarily flex this muscle in the past. This has been part of their authority for a long time. We then got more authority at the state level through the legislature in the most recent budget. So the elected representatives have spoken clearly that there's a role for state government to go in here, to be on the side of taxpayers. Blaze doesn't answer to the county government. No one else in state government does. And we want to be able to get the answers that he's entitled to. So his subpoenas are justified. Why people were reading off a prepared script, I have no idea. But that's what was going on. And so he's going to make sure that he gets the answers to this, because ultimately the job of all of this, whether it's us going, doging our own state universities, or whether it's what Blaze is leading in local government, is you got to be a voice for the taxpayer. And Blaze is being a voice for the taxpayer.
Governor, Alligator Alcatraz, there's now an email that's been surfacing from Kevin Guthrie that he sent to a rabbi in South Florida, which he says in a couple of days we're probably down to 0 individuals. Do you know about this email that Kevin
I think he was just referring to they're deporting him very quickly. And that's a good thing. That's what we want. We don't determine who goes into the facility. Now, obviously, there's litigation that's been going on that DHS is a party to, and so that may be an influence about where they're sending people. But we're ready to help. We want to continue to help. We have to continue with this mission. It's important, and ultimately, it's going to be good for the state of Florida. So, you know, the alligator Alcatraz, this is just people, you know, trying to get spun up to be able to have something. I mean, you'll literally go, there'll be like, you know, 10 people with like signs and stuff. And I'm just like, you know, if it were me, like, I would find better things to do. I really would. But like, that's what they need something to kind of do. But the reality is we're in this more than any other state leading, and we're going to continue to do it. And so ultimately, it's DHS's decision where they want to process and stage detainees, and it's their decision about when they want to bring them out. But I think they've been having rapid removals from alligator Alcatraz, and I think that's caused the census to go down. But again, you know, that's not necessarily that we control in either direction.
Why couldn't the state have made an exception?
You've been concerned about the crosswalks here, about safety and so forth, but people are concerned about the 49 lives there at the crosswalk at Pulse. The sidewalks have been painted over. Are you rethinking maybe that policy, or are you still standing firm?
So the legislature passed a change in law recently, which said there's no street art allowed. And the Department of Transportation put out guidance recently, a couple months ago, reminding everybody. And this has been addressed statewide, not just on any issue under the sun. Blue Lives Matter, this. They're doing it uniformly throughout the state. I think the street art got out of hand. I think it's much better that we use crosswalks and streets for their intended purpose. And I would say on this, who approved millions of dollars for a memorial? I've approved millions of dollars for a memorial. Not painting the road, actually doing a fitting memorial. And a lot of people involved in that have misused money over the years. Why do we not have a memorial done yet? So the question is about removing people. I mean, look, yeah, the Constitution allows the governor to remove under certain criteria. You know, it's not something that I do lightly. I mean, people bring me the kind of the goods, because, you know, I'll go around and people be like, hey, remove this person, remove this person. Well, it's like, you don't like somebody, that's not necessarily fitting with the Constitution. So give me the goods. And so, for example, we've done that when I became governor. I had promised in the campaign, you know, that we were going to bring accountability for the Parkland failures by the Broward County Sheriff. So we removed the sheriff that, and the Senate eventually upheld that. We did the same with some of the supervisors of elections in South Florida, and lo and behold, we now have very, very well-run elections. So that was necessary, and then we have had to do from time to time. And so the question is if there's conduct that merits that, well, that goes without saying, you know, we can do that. But I think the intent is to get the people the answers. We expect compliance with these subpoenas, and then we'll be able to go from there. But what I want is for the process, the authority that's been put in place in law, both with CFO and state government, to just be respected and honored. I mean, like, you know, we have these debates. I get it. Look, there can be some friction. I mean, Florida politically now is like a big red peninsula with some blue dots, right? Orlando's one of the blue dots. Gainesville's one of the blue dots, and that's fine. But the reality is when you do debate these things and put this stuff into law, the ability to conduct these audits, the ability, or actually the mandate for DOT to keep the streets clear of markings or messaging or graffiti, that's just, the people have spoken on that. I think Broder and his colleagues passed that unanimously in the Florida Senate. I signed it in the law. If I sign it in the law, how could I then say, well, you know, you can do this, you can do that? Because then you end up having to adjudicate, well, that message is fine, and that's not what we're doing. We wanted to get out of that business, and I think that's right. Now, some of the local governments who are not necessarily on state roads, I have to see, I know Key West is coming up, Delray Beach. There may have been one or two others who basically just said, we're not going to comply or whatever. guys, we're going to get it done. We're going to follow the law, and it's going to end up so you can do it the easy way, you can do it the hard way. That's really up to you. I mean, there's obviously certain parts where anytime a state does something, there's a desire to kind of virtue signal, and I think we're seeing that in some of those jurisdictions. But the reality is we have this authority. We have the DOJ authority. So let's get the facts. Let's let taxpayers know. I mean, I do think just on the face of some of the things Blaise said, you went from what, $1 billion to $1.6 billion for the thing, almost $600 million increase in the last 5 years. Now, there may be folks that will show, hey, that was absolutely necessary. Look, let's have that debate as Floridians. Because what I would say is I would have preferred property tax relief and then mitigating that. Now, there's, like I said, the state government, we've had to put in more money for projects because the costs went up. So I'm not saying that there was no increases that have been imposed through the inflation, but that's a significant increase, and especially in counties that haven't had a net population gain. Orange has had a net population gain. Broward has not, and yet their budget went up 60%. So we want to do right by taxpayers. I mean, that's what this is all about. So I would refer you to the DOT memo. My staff can send you the DOT memo. It cites the statute. This was implementing guidance that was published probably a couple months ago by Jared Perdue at the Florida Department of Transportation. And what it does is it says state roads, no. Then it also says local governments have to follow the state standard. And so the way this kind of came up was that you had Key West saying, we don't care, we're going to do Delray Beach, we're going to do all this stuff. And then our department's like, no, that's not what the law says, you can't do it. But then it was like, well, wait a minute, there's a marking, there's a picture here or there around the state. And so there have been a bunch of them with various political viewpoints, by the way, and honestly, probably more viewpoints that are more associated with conservatives. And yet the DOT said, no, we're going to go do that. So my folks can provide that for you. It's very clear. I think everybody knows kind of where we're at with this, and we're just going to abide by the law. That's going to happen. Yeah, go ahead, Blaise.
Before we get to that question, just real quick, there's a couple of things I just want to answer and clarify. As far as property taxes, what I'm going to tell you is that this initiative is very, very popular with voters about rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse from local government and lowering property taxes. I see a lot of heads nodding up and down. And the reason being, and the question is, how can you impose this on local governments? Because local governments are not giving their own taxpayers, their own constituents relief. So the state has to come in and do something about it. We are the ones protecting the taxpayers. We wouldn't be in this situation if local governments' budgets did not get out of hand. So we view it as we are sticking up for the taxpayers where local officials are not. Because even that people are complaining that their property taxes are high, we're still seeing some local governments increase budgets and increase property taxes. Now, yes, some of them are cutting budgets, and we thank them for that. Some of them are adopting rollback rates and not increasing their budgets. We thank them for that also. But at the end of the day, this issue is going to be on the 26th ballot, and people are going to vote overwhelmingly for property tax relief. I also want to answer the question that was asked about the audits, saying that mayors were talking about the audits and say, hey, we're already doing audits. We are going one step further than an audit. An audit basically says, what an auditor does for these local governments are saying that contracts have been signed, they were procured correctly, they were signed correctly, they were paid out correctly, money went in out correctly. We are checking that, but we're also asking, was the contract that was actually signed a good use of taxpayer dollars? And I'm going to tell you, when you find out what some of these governments are paying, the answer is going to be overwhelmingly no. So Demings can say, auditors have checked everything, everything checks out. He's not checking or answering the question, was the initial contract that was signed a good use of taxpayer dollars?
More specifics about these grants in question. You talk about this $1.5 billion budget. How much do these grants cost, and how much would it save the taxpayers who are just trying to get rid of them? What are these specific programs you are
I'm going to tell you right now that I want to say those grants over the last 3 years totaled about $500,000, $600,000, which is not a lot. but it's the question of them hiding the information because they know they are going to be embarrassed that they were spending the money just on the first place. But I'm going to tell you right now, that is a drop in a bucket from what we're actually finding. That is nothing compared to what, when the reports come out and voters see what they're actually spending the money on, then they are going to be outraged.
Well, they
right there.
I'll let him go in a second. I just want to, you know, and Blaze alluded this in his original remarks. If you look at kind of salaries and benefits, federal is higher than state, but county and city are oftentimes higher than federal, right? And so, look, I want people to do well. I'm not like, and I just pushed a big pay increase for Florida Highway Patrol, and I want to do more next year. And I'm not, but I do think there's going to be, and Blaze will show a lot of examples in county and city government where some people are getting, you know, pretty significant, you know, paydays. And it's like, okay, you know, you have like the governor of Florida, the CFO, the attorney general, like they're at a certain level. And like we've kept it so I don't want any, but and then like a county administrator is like twice that much to run a county when someone's running a state. It's like, wait a minute, like, you know, there's some stuff there. So I think like some of the grants and not being honest is indicative, I think, of a larger issue, and I don't think it's like, oh, well, there's, you know, this much in grants. I will say, though, across the state, I mean, you know, there's definitely many, many millions and millions of dollars that were spent, you know, on some of the more political stuff, for sure, is what we're finding, you know, across particularly some of the bigger counties. Did you have Blaze? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Ngoli, how many county employees would you say, an idea so far, gave you some of those partial records, read off a script, and how far up the chain of command do you think that goes?
So the first answer to that question is I'm not going to disclose how many investigatory subpoenas we issued today because it is part of a pending investigation. But I will tell you that this may not be the end of the investigatory subpoenas. If we sit down and we have conversations and they say that their superior told them to do that, and then we issue an investigatory subpoena to them and they say their superior told them to do it, we're going to continue until we find out who made the final decision to hide the information from the state. I will tell you that Orange County is the first county that we issued subpoenas to, but there are other counties that are being just as elusive that we may actually have to issue subpoenas also.
Do you have similar concerns about City Hall here, or later or later you can come out with that audit went to the city?
When budgets go up over 4 or 5 years in between 60 to 120%, I have issues with every county, whether it is a Democrat majority county or a Republican majority county. I have issues with wasteful spending. I have issues with government spending things on things that should not be spent on and then continually asking the taxpayers for more, more, more. The taxpayers have had enough, and so have I.
Yeah, I think you. And you've definitely seen some of these red counties, because, you know, like there were people that have, since COVID especially, fled to some of the red counties in large numbers. Property values went up, gusher of revenue, and then they're spending. So that is true, and I don't think it's just a partisan issue. But I mean, it's frustrating on the property tax because, first of all, my position is, you own your home in the state of Florida. If that's your homesteaded residence, I don't think you should have to pay rent to the government. I think you should own your home. And so I have a philosophical objection to taxing people on their private residence. You have investment properties, commercial, you know, that's different. Like if I was starting society anew, I wouldn't tax any of it. But, you know, we are where we are, and a lot of them do. So, but certainly for your primary residence as a Florida resident, homestead, that would be my position. And I think we can get there. But man, it's like if you have tax and you buy a house for $400,000, you should not then all of a sudden a few years later say it's $800,000. It's an unrealized gain. And so it should be whatever you paid for it, and that should have been the standard all along, and that would have saved a lot of people just to do that. Instead, they add and add and add. And, you know, if you guys buy stock, you hold the stock. You don't pay if it doubles in value until you actually sell it. And the real estate and the homes seem to be the one example where we know that's not good tax policy, and yet that's grown into just an accepted practice where you get a new bill and someone has assessed value to your house. You know, property, real estate goes up and down. I mean, from 2000 to 2007, a little into 8 in Florida, and well, nationwide, it went up, right? Then what happened 2007, 2008? The bubble burst, and so all of a sudden, you had a lot of distressed assets, and you had a lot of properties values that went down. So, you know, if you were just owning, and then they're taxing you more, and then all of a sudden, it's actually not worth that much, you know, how do they justify that tax? So this is something that's really important to people. I think it's the best way that we can do something as a state to provide meaningful relief. A lot of the other things that have pinched people, from groceries, all these other things, that's not controlled by the government, certainly the state government. I mean, I think, you know, the inflation that has been fueled in recent years federally is a different story, but the one thing we can do is the tax, and to give people the relief from the tax. So I think it would be good for senior citizens. I think it would be good for young families. And this is part of that process, to be able to have a voice for the taxpayer, show how these resources are being, the gusher of new resources that have come in, how that's being spent, but then ultimately to be able to show there's a better way. And that better way means that you actually own your own home free and clear of the government. Okay, thanks everybody.
Governor DeSantis shaking hands with State CFO Blaise Ngolea, walking out of the room there. They are at the Zora Neale Hurston State Building in Orlando off West Robinson Street, and announcing issuing investigative subpoenas to Orange County for what they say is not full cooperation when it comes to the Doge audits that the state is hoping to perform. So they say this is the first county to receive one of these investigative subpoenas, but not the only one who is not necessarily fully cooperating, and so there could be more. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard joining me now. And Laurel, nice to have you in our streaming studio with me today.
Yeah, happy to be here. A little bit of a change of environment today.
Yeah, a little bit. Now let's talk about the weather here. We know there are some chances for some storms this evening.
Some chances for some storms, but nothing crazy. That's
Good.
the good news.
Okay.
Enjoy the dry weather while we have it, though, because over the next couple of days, this blue skies that you're seeing out there right now in Titusville aren't going to be so blue as we take a look. Probably from Friday, we're really seeing those storms start to kick in, and then unfortunately for the holiday weekend. So taking a look outside right now, beautiful blue skies out there. Humidity, not too bad today. It's toasty for sure, but nothing really too bad out there because we have some drier air being pushed in. We see some thunderstorms in southern Osceola County, southern Brevard County right now, and we're seeing a little bit of a sea breeze. So you can see that arc that's coming out from those storms are out there right now, making their way up towards Kissimmee, over towards Polk County. That's really just some gusty winds coming from that thunderstorm cluster in southern Osceola County right now. So really nothing too much on the radar, but we could be seeing a couple more of those storms pop up just because we are seeing so many boundaries kind of out and about there right now. So just be prepared for a couple of pop-up storms through the rest of the evening. After those storms slowly start to fizzle out through the overnight tonight, things are going to quiet down, mainly clear skies through the overnight. Temperatures getting a little bit cooler, dropping into the low to mid 70s, and then we're continuing to heat things back up. Taking a look at tomorrow morning. Right off the bat, beautiful sunshine on tap. Headed through the late morning, afternoon, couple of clouds starting to sink in. But then as we head into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, that's when we could be seeing a couple of storms pop up. Very scattered across the region. Scattered is going to be the main thread for tomorrow. And then as we do take a look through your Thursday evening, maybe a couple more storms because, again, those sea breeze storms colliding. But tomorrow is really just going to be much more of that gradual increase of that rain chance that we're really going to be seeing the sogginess kick in as we take a look at Friday. So that's really going to be the main trend. Tomorrow's kind of like the ease in as we take a look for those rain chances, especially into Friday. And unfortunately, we're probably looking at a pretty soggy weekend as well.
We'll talk more about that in a minute. But the temperatures, we are dealing with some cooler temperatures, a little more typical temperatures, but we are also having this humidity.
Well, so yeah, it feels cooler for sure because yeah, those temperatures kind of lingering throughout the low 90s right now. Very normal for this time of year. But yeah, when we're talking about the humidity, we actually had a little bit of drier air get pushed in on Monday and Tuesday. So the humidity, not as bad as it was the past couple of weeks, I feel like. It's been almost that just, I don't even want to go outside. Like, I'm speechless. I have no words because that humidity has just been so bad. And for the past couple days, it's actually been pleasant.
A little bit more manageable, I think, because you can actually go outside without just instantly sweating, not being able to breathe, that kind of thing. Still there, but at least not quite as bad.
Still there, yeah. No, I just went home to New England, and it was nice to actually walk out of the airport and not get hit in the face with humidity. It was a nice little transition, nice little change of pace.
All right, so let's talk about tomorrow a little more because we do know tomorrow is the kickoff to the college football season for UCF.
Yes.
Big game. Big season opener against Jacksonville State tomorrow night. So what can we expect for our Thursday?
Thursday, starting off nice. So that's the good news right there. Seeing things slowly starting to warm up. Things are going to be pretty nice to start. Morning commute looks beautiful. It's once we head into the afternoon and evening, of course, this temperature is heating up right off the bat. Temperatures lingering right around the low 90s tomorrow. And then once we head up into the afternoon and evening, of course, that's when we're getting a little bit closer to kickoff. So as we take a look tomorrow night, kickoff at the Bounce House, 7 p.m. UCF football against Jacksonville State. Going to be seeing right around temperatures 86 degrees. So tomorrow we're going to kind of have two things at play. Keeping an eye, of course, on those afternoon and evening thunderstorms, scattered showers and storms pretty much all evening long. And then once we head into the afternoon hours, the other thing is that we're going to be watching is the cloud cover. So especially once we start to see some of those storms kick in, we could be seeing much more of those storms because of just where the sea breezes collide. That's something that we're going to have to watch tomorrow evening. But fingers crossed by the end of the game, beginning of the game, but close to kickoff, maybe a little on the risky side when we're talking about weather, but once we head into probably halftime, the third and fourth quarter, that's when we could be seeing those conditions really start to lighten up a little bit.
Any chance for delays? Are we talking potential for some lightning out there?
That's going to be one of the big threats. So
Okay.
torrential downpours as we take a look through tomorrow evening. Lightning is going to be a big threat. And of course, when we're talking about just basic rules for college football, can't have any lightning within 3 miles of the stadium. So that's something that we're really going to need to watch, especially as we start to see some of those thunderstorms pick up.
Well, we hope not. No one wants to see those delays and that kind of thing. Speaking of things also no one wants to see, you were teasing rain for our holiday weekend.
You're making me be like the bearer of bad news.
Well,
I
you
swear.
are the bearer of bad news right now, so.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's just keep the trend going. Unfortunately, we're going to slowly start to see those rain chances pick up. But luckily, through the morning, that's going to be the sweet spot in order to get more of those storms. It doesn't show with the icons right now. My coding might be a little bit off on that one, as well as that graphic may be a little bit off as well.
Yeah.
Overall, we are going to slowly start to see those rain chances pick up a little bit more. So that's something that we're going to need to be watching. Pretty much Saturday and Sunday, we're looking, I know that says 30 and 20, but we're going to be looking at about 70 and 80% rain chances, and that's going to continue into Monday as well. So something that we're really going to need to watch for sure. And hey, that's a little bit better. For Labor Day on Monday, not seeing that black as well. So I'll check that graphic in a little bit. But overall, Monday, if you do have any Labor Day plans to celebrate the long weekend, Monday morning is going to be the best time to get out. I know a couple people were already asking me about golf forecasts. It's going to be pretty rainy Saturday and Sunday evening, so you might not even be able to play golf just because the course might be so wet on Saturday and Sunday. But even into Monday as well, looking at widespread rain. So any barbecues that you might have, getting together with friends, getting together with families, grilling may need to be outside, but the actual eating part may need to be inside, just because we are going to be seeing quite a bit of storms taking a look towards the back half of the day.
And so it's one of those kind of days that you may want to have some backup plans if you are planning on going outside, whether if going to the beach, going on the water, or whatever the case may be. You may need to have some backup plans.
Backup plans for sure. And even if you do just want to spend the morning out on the beach, really it's the morning is going to be the sweet spot of the day. Go do your activities and then kind of just chill back, relax in the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hey, if it's a day off work for you, it's still a day off work for you,
Yes.
even if it's rainy. So now let's talk a little bit of tropics here. We know Fernan is weakening, and is there anything else we need to watch for? Are we gonna get a little bit of a break here?
So luckily, just like how we are, the tropics are also taking a little bit of a break from the holiday weekend.
You finally bring us some good news.
Yay! See, I break the trend. So taking a look for Fernan, this is the 5 p.m. update, holding 50-mile-per-hour winds right now. This thing is just barely holding together as this tropical storm status. So fingers crossed, we're slowly going to be seeing this storm slowly weaken. And National Hurricane Center actually just released that their final update on Fernan is going to be put out at about Thursday. So this storm should be pretty much out of here and become post-tropical storm Fernan as we take a look Thursday afternoon. So something that we're going to be watching, but right now holding 50-mile-per-hour winds right at the top of the hour here. Latest update from National Hurricane Center, 50-mile-per-hour winds as tropical storm Fernan continues to make its way off to the east-northeast. So something that we're just going to be watching for now, but things are going to definitely still be looking pretty tropical here. We're going to continue to see those temperatures lingering right around 80, upper 80s, low 90s through the next couple of days, but it's those rain chances that are slowly going to be picking up more and more, taking a look at your holiday weekend. So Garrett, hopefully any plans that you have for the holiday weekend are inside.
They are, because I will be here on Monday, and so I will be inside. But for the weekend, as far as Saturday and Sunday goes, I was hoping to do some stuff outside, but I don't know. Maybe not.
Good for the plants, though. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that is true.
I don't need to water my flowers.
Make them a little greener, but I just finished mowing the lawn. Now it's going to just grow even faster, but I guess it's a good problem to have. Well, Fox 35 Storm Team Meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us.
Always a pleasure, Garrett.
We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we will be right back after this.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. This is another live look in Minneapolis, Minnesota, after as they head into the evening on what has been a day of tragedy there in that community. 2 children killed, 17 people injured. A number of those are children themselves after a shooting where a person shot through the windows into a church See, I'm not sure what happened with my feed there, but shot into the windows of a church. And now many in that community in mourning. This is a live look at the White House, where President Trump has ordered the flags to be at half staff as the country and community mourn what happened, that tragedy earlier today. We're going to have more on that coming up on Fox 35 News at 5. Let me go ahead and send you out to Studio A, where John and Luann are getting ready for that newscast, which begins in about 20 seconds right here on Fox Local. We'll also have an update from Fox 35's Manny Martinez, who was at that news conference in Orlando just a few minutes ago, where Governor DeSantis announced those subpoenas against Orange County. We have reached out to Orange County for a response. Manny will have the latest on that coming up in just a few.
Right now.